Hi, this is Mary Valamides, and I'm going to share with you the 5th grade second 6 weeks math curriculum previews. And this PowerPoint will be in Canvas, so if I go a little too fast in some areas, know that you can get everything in Canvas. So the second 6 weeks overview, we're going to multiply and divide decimals. At this point you'll be finished with whole numbers, so we'll finish Unit 2. Then Unit 3, operations with fractions. And then Unit 4, algebraic expressions, equations, and patterns. You'll do most of Unit 4. You'll just have one more day to finish Unit 4 in the third 6 weeks. Then, as we're talking about finishing Unit 2, multiplying and dividing fractions, you'll have a span of October 3rd through the 17th to cover this concept. So these are the texts that will be in this particular part of the unit. There is a good video that you might see from Khan Academy. Notice it takes 6/10 and actually puts it in a division format where we have 6 divided by 10. This helps the kids understand why we take that decimal and we take it one space over, because we're dividing by 10. So it gives them a reason for that question that they might ask. So you might want to show them this video. There's another good video available as well for you if you would like to watch it, because we know the kids only do products to the hundredths place. But this particular video goes to the thousandths place, and it's very interesting how it says it's divided by 100 and the other number is divided by 10, therefore it's divided by 1,000, and that's why we have 3 places that the decimal place will go. This is the item that the kids took on STAR. Notice that they were going to multiply 2 5/10 by 4 and by 330. Now the kids scored 58% on this particular item. But the 10th lowest item was when they had to multiply 2 decimals, 3 5/10 times 1 2/10. Dividing decimals by 2-digit divisors. Here is two little slides that I'm going to share with you that it shows the kids step by step how to do this concept. There's also a video available on YouTube that you can share with the kids on how to divide 1 by 2. There's also another video that has a 2-digit divisor showing step by step how you would divide a decimal by a 2-digit divisor. So when you are dividing a decimal by a whole number, start with your base 10 blocks. Take, for example, this problem, 2 4/10 divided by 4. Use your 10 rods and change the flat into 10 rods so the kids can see 2 flats and 4/10, and now you're going to make that exchange of having them all be rods. So they're all you're using tenths. So you have 10 tenths for one, and then 10 tenths for a second one, and then 4 tenths left over. So we're going to take these and put them into groups of 4, because that's what divided by 4 means. So we're going to put them into groups of 4. And notice as we divvy these out, that at the final result will be 6/10. So 2 4/10 is divided by 6/10, because 6/10 would be in each of these circles. The reason why I want you to make sure you do that is because the kids need to then go to a pictorial version and be able to draw out what that means. Notice that this was our 6th lowest item on STAR. The kids had problems with this item and had different answers. So notice that this H, where you have 1 2/10 divided into 3 groups, is the correct answer. Notice that the kids scored well on this item. They didn't have pictorial models. So we really do need to expose them to using models, pictorial models, and base 10 blocks to get that conceptual understanding. Because they went from the 6th lowest to the 8th highest. Unit 3, operations with fractions. You'll probably do this between October 18th and 28th. And these are the texts that you're going to be covering in this particular unit. We have adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators in the next portion. So we're going to start with adding fractions. So adding fractions with like denominators, you could take a model and go ahead and color 3 of the 15 First, I would let the kids count and make sure that there are 15 so they'll know where the denominator is coming from, just as a reminder. And then color in 3/15 to show your very first fraction. And now, since we're going to add 4/15, we're going to color in 4 more so that now the sum is 7/15. When you subtract fractions, you can use the same type of model. We have 7 colored in, and now we're going to take 4 of these away, so you can show the shading of taking 4 away, leaving only 3/15. So show them with the model first so that they can get the understanding of what's going on. And then you can tell them that 7 minus 4 is equal to 3, and they stay with the same denominator. They'll understand that algorithm once they see it first. You can use manipulatives such as your fraction and decimal tiles to help the kids understand this concept, especially the struggling students. Simplifying fractions is our next topic, and notice there is a video for you to use with your kids if you'd like on understanding better how to simplify fractions using pictorial models. Improper fractions and mixed numbers, one way to do this is to use your color tiles. So have the kids actually make these models. So if we look at 15/4, we know we're going to have groups of 4, and there are 15 of those groups of 4, 15 of those pieces, from those groups of 4 that we're going to shade in. So if we have groups of 4 and we shade in 15 of them, notice we're going to have 3 that are going to be whole pieces, and then we have 3/4 left over. Again, have the kids actually make these and see what's going on. Then once they do that, then they'll see that we're only dividing 4 into 15, and we have a full number of 3, and then we have 3 pieces left over, 3 out of 4, so that we have our answer of 3 3/4. Adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. We're going to start with adding fractions with unlike denominators first. And you can first start with models to show them how we arrive at a common denominator using models. So this is 7/15 plus 4/10. Now we'll add another row to our 4/10 to see if we can get a common denominator. But 8/20 is not the same as 7/15, so our denominators are still not the same. So if we add another row to our 7/15, we still don't have the same denominator. But then if we add another row to our 4/10 on the right side, that now becomes 12/30, now we can see that both of our fractions have a common denominator. So we can use these models to now add our fractions. So we could take those yellow pieces and move them to 7/15. So we have 14/30 plus 12/30 equals 26/30. Now we'll need to simplify that fraction, and since we have 26/30 and we can see that we can basically divide it in half, we can start with taking half of that model away. So once we do that, we can see that what's left over is 13/15. Now we don't need to simplify any further because that's as far as we can get. But notice using the models can help you with even simplifying fractions. But this only really happens well when both of them are divisible by 2. So our 26 and our 30 was divisible by 2. Now you can use color tiles for manipulatives. You also have frac tracks that can help you to use along with your fraction tiles. And remember, you have the back side as well. This is movable, so the kids can add and subtract using these. There's a video available that you can use that uses fraction tiles and explains how to use fraction tiles with adding and subtracting fractions. There's also some black line fraction strips that kids can make, and a video showing how they can use those paper fraction strips, especially if you don't have enough for the whole class. And then there's a video, if you happen to have a whiteboard, there's a video that you can use your fraction strip CD with your smartboard. And of course, grid paper. Since the kids have grid paper on STAR, they can use as much grid paper as they like. So here's an example of where 1/3 plus 1/5 is demonstrated using grid paper, and then the gentleman gives you a problem for the kids to do, and then he comes back on and explains how you could get the answer using pictorial models. So instead of using grid paper, you can, don't forget to use the back of your whiteboards or send them in your gridded whiteboards so that the kids can use them frequently. There's also one other video where the kids draw pictorial models, but notice it's just a little different than what I showed you earlier when we're trying just finding common denominators. There's also an online game available from Illuminations from NCTM where the kids just pick a card and then they try to they're trying to move over those red dots with as few moves as possible. And therefore, they need to know how to get common denominators. Now, this is an item that we had on STAR using pictorial models. And now we're going to go to subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Same idea of using the models to get a common denominator. And of course, we end up with 12/30ths. And 14/30ths minus 12/30ths leaves us with 2/30ths, which can then be simplified to 1/15. There is a video available that helps you use fraction models. And adding and subtracting mixed numbers is the next concept. So here we can see models again, adding 2 3/4 plus 4 2/4. And we can take our whole numbers and add them together to 6, and that way we only have our remaining pieces left. So 3/4 plus 2/4 would be another 1 1/4. So therefore 6 plus 1 1/4 equals 7 1/4. Subtracting mixed numbers can be done similarly. You could take the whole numbers away first. That leaves us with 2 3/4. Now we need to take our 1/4 away from that. So that would leave us with 2 2/4. There is a video, again using pictorial models and grid paper, that you can watch on subtracting mixed numbers. Our last unit, which you'll teach most of it except for one day of it, is November 1st through November 15th. These are the texts that will go along with it. This is a little bit of information from TEA that gives you an idea of how it can be tested. Also, make sure you teach the meaning of the brackets, the meaning of parentheses, how they're done first, and that a number outside of parentheses means to multiply, or a dot, two dots between two numbers also means to multiply. Here's an item on our STAR test that we, of course, was difficult for the kids. It's a griddable, which makes it difficult, but then also notice that we have brackets, we have a 2 outside of the parentheses, which means to multiply, and we know that they need to be multiplied first before we go to this set of numbers. And of course, everything in this bracket has to be done before you multiply 10. And then grid it appropriately. So what type of answer responses are about 54% of the questions on STAR requiring? Well, algebraic was 12%, verbal was 10%, and visual was 26%. So over a quarter of the test was visual answer responses. So please be aware of that when you're making your own formative assessments. Griddables were 6%. There's always going to be 3 griddables on the test. Vocabulary, these words should be reviewed. They should have learned them in 4th grade. These will be new words for your kids. So please make sure you focus on these words. Word wall activities, you could tell the kids, I am thinking of a word that begins with the letter S and ends with the letter Y. And the kids can ask you for hints. And of course, I'm thinking of the word simplify. You can do those kinds of things, or have the student give the clues and see if they can get a child with the right vocabulary word. Another word wall activity would be tic-tac-toe. You will have a CBA on November 14th. The math and science griddables are different. So if you have not used the griddables, they are posted in Eduphoria. Notice you can go to yearly content documents and then state assessments, and you'll find a whole page of griddables. And of course, this is what a griddable would look like in 5th grade. Thank you so much for listening to my curriculum preview summary. If you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help you, please call me. Don't ever hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Have a great day.